Hello and welcome to this week's episode of RightCast Radio. I am your host. They call me the Jackrabbit. With me is the founder of rightchan.org.
Shadus.
And our two panelists.
Cobra. Coffeepot.
All right, and today we're continuing with our discussion on what it would take to put a off-grid community into place, the practice. Last week we talked about the more philosophical ideas on how to run it, like who would be in charge, the mayor, and that's something that we can definitely flesh out more.
Legal stuff.
The legal stuff, yeah. And that's something we can definitely flesh out more later on. But I want to move on past that and talk about the nuts and bolts of how it would run, what exactly you would need, and exactly what physical buildings need to exist and what jobs need to happen in order for this to be a self-sustaining community. Because you can't have everybody being farmers because people like to eat meat. Likewise, you can't have everybody being a butcher because people like to eat vegetables. And I understand that farmers also have cows and stuff. The point I'm getting at is somebody needs to butcher it. Somebody needs to skin the animal. And while homesteaders are really good at doing a lot of this stuff, you don't want one group carrying the weight for everybody. Yeah. The whole point of this community is to give everybody enough free time to explore things that interest them, hobbies and that sort of thing.
Okay, so the idea of everyone having their own garden and their own livestock is kind of...
Well, everyone should have their own garden.
Oh, of course.
At the very least, just supplement everything, because you can't have any one family...
Right. Why not...
be a burden.
Wouldn't it be better, though, if everybody was kind of responsible for their own welfare, as it were, as far as having enough food put up, having enough,
right.
having some chickens taken care of.
What I like is the idea of backup plans for backup plans. So everybody has their own garden and they have their own little things, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to also have a community garden. Or something like, let's say Farmer Bob's zucchini failed this year.
Yeah.
And the community garden didn't, for whatever reason.
Another way to do it is actually... talking about actually impose kind of, I guess in a way, a tax, as it were. Mm-hmm. Take the surplus produce and the surplus meat and all that, sell off whatever you need, and then put the rest of it in a centralized storehouse as a backup, as it were.
Right. So let's look into what exactly we'll need. So we'll need a silo of some kind to store excess produce.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what I was thinking. Okay. So at the base level, everyone needs at least some food that is there, something they can rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this idea of permaculture. Basically, a small garden designed in such a way with like local things that will grow naturally locally.
Right.
Yeah. So everyone has a permaculture garden with their home to provide supplemental food that they can that they can put away. Hard times.
I've actually heard your mother talking about permaculture. She calls it the food forest model.
Okay.
You take perennials that bloom year after year and fruit year after year, and you just broadcast them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No rows, no order really. You just have a little patch of forest where everything's edible.
Yeah, okay. You can do stuff like that with the potatoes and stuff, can't you? We're just sticking in the dirt.
Oh yeah, potatoes will grow anywhere.
Except Ireland.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, they grow. They just after a while you get one or two strains that are not disease resistant, and then the potato famine happens.
Fun note: Cobra and I actually have a 25-pound sack of potatoes in our pantry,
and they're sprouting, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been there for more than a year, actually.
And
how are they not rotting?
Because they're growing. We have 3-foot tall potato stalks growing in our pantry.
They've never seen the sun. We've never watered them. Literally put them in the pantry and forgot about them, and now we have potato plants. Somehow.
Interesting. Well, that's not a bad idea.
But that and then a collective farm for the community that would grow staple foods.
Because that does a couple of things. A, it allows that fail-safe that I was talking about before.
Right.
But it also gives the community... I'm a big fan of if you're going to start a community, everybody needs to be working, living, having fun together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think having a community garden that everybody pitches in to work on would really help with the... borrow a term from the military, it'd help with unit cohesion. It would definitely help with families coming in, working together, chatting and talking as they work.
So essentially what we're doing is a little bit like an Israeli kibbutz model where you have a centralized working place, and everyone on the kibbutz comes in and works on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're
Never
talking
having
about.
been to Israel, I wouldn't know, but it sounds...
okay.
Yeah, a kibbutz is essentially a farming commune.
Yeah, it's pretty...
All right.
And if they last
Did
long
I hear
enough,
communism?
town. If they last long enough, a town will kind of spring up around them.
Mhm.
There are quite a few towns and smaller cities in Israel that started as a kibbutz.
Yeah.
Well, I think...
And it's actually a really nice model.
Yeah. Well, I also think that you can preemptively strike against that and have the town already there.
Yeah.
For instance, I thought it would be very nice to have a butcher that was just lived in the area.
Was just a butcher.
Was just a butcher. That's his job. He butches.
Yeah.
You know, he gets he gets meat from from hunters, and because I also think it'd be cool to have like a hunters guild. I think that would be a really neat thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
The problem now, I do really like that idea. That's a cool idea. But then you have to worry about things like, for instance, if we have enough land, if the trust owns enough land, you can hunt on your own property. Like as long as what you're killing isn't endangered or something, you can hunt on your own property whenever you want.
Right.
However, if we don't have enough land to do that,
you have to get permits.
You have to get permits and everything.
I mean, that's not too terribly.
Yeah,
different.
and the trust could pay for that.
Yeah, of course, and also usually the tag limit is per person. So if you have a hunting guild of 20 people, you don't even need that many animals to feed.
Why do that when you can kind of? Because here's the thing: you're going to attract people that tend to have an outdoor mindset. People that want to homestead. I think that would happen naturally. I don't think you necessarily have to have a guild. Maybe have like an informal club, as it were, where guys come together, but not...
The idea is to create a group activity to further deepen that cohesion in the group.
Okay. If you have a group... And this is... I'm not going to get too deep into this because this is really very much next week's discussion on this, but it also will help create that... It creates cohesion and it creates that hunter-gatherer band. And that's the thing. When you're really doing stuff like this, all you're doing is tapping into the primal roots of humanity. And
you're creating a village.
They're living... Yeah, you're living in the earth instead of on it.
Yeah.
Now, on that, so...
Well, that and organizing your hunters into a hunter's guild also makes it a lot easier to keep tabs on, like, the kills they're bringing in. If we're going to be distributing food to each family according to what they contribute, we need to keep very good accounts of what we're bringing in. No. And a guild helps facilitate the organizational structure.
And not only that, because of the homesteading nature of the town, it could be that the hunters would only go out during like festivals and stuff. If you wanted to make killing a wild animal and bringing it in to feast on it,
actually
have it be part of like a festival or something. That would be a neat idea.
Yeah, whoever gets the biggest buck is
because so in my mind, you need a hunter's guild. Well, whenever you kill an animal, it has meat. It also has skin.
Yeah,
that skin is used for a lot of good stuff. So it'd be cool to have somebody that was good in leather working, tanning, and tie along with that. It'd be cool to have a seamstress.
Yeah,
somebody who sews clothing, pants, jerkins, whatever, what have you.
Oh, hi.
So you're talking about essentially making the place where it is self-sufficient.
Yes.
Where it is
the idea is to bring in as little from the outside as can possibly be done.
Right. So essentially you're having what is basically a modernized, as it were, an Amish community or something.
Well, the idea long term is functionally to build a city-state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If the rest of the country collapsed around us, we might not even notice.
Because it's something really interesting. If you look at, when you think about what communities are going to really thrive, if for some reason the federal government were to completely collapse, my money's on the Chinatown in San Francisco and the Chinatown in New York.
Yeah.
Because they have doctors, they have everything they need is within the borders of their little borough.
So, run this by you. Instead of, and this is just kind of throwing this out here, when you have a centralized storehouse, as it were, would it not, just as another option, would it not might also be a good idea to, instead of doing that, doing it to where, okay, Bob is responsible for growing all his own food, and then he gets to keep whatever surplus he has, so that Jim the butcher, hey, I need tomatoes or I need grain. He can go over to Bob and say, hey, you have a surplus. I'd like to buy that from you, and either do as a trading or do as a bartering system, or like we were talking about last week, having within the currency within the
Well,
the thing is with that, at least me personally, what I would like to see is for the production of the community to always go through the trust first and then be distributed to members. Because if they just keep what they grow and now correct me if I'm wrong, but if they keep what they grow and that's personal belonging that isn't property of the trust, the government can still tax you on the opposite of liquid assets.
Material assets, I guess.
The government can still tax your belongings.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of the name of it.
Are you talking now? Are we talking about because I know things like livestock. Livestock is actually taxable. But are we talking about produce and grain here, or
over a certain amount? Yes, produce is taxable.
Okay.
Your little apartment flower box.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. But if you have farms and fields and fields and fields of grain, they can come in and say, "Hey, you owe us money because reasons."
So I don't know about everyone who'd be moving into this community,
right?
But I personally want to deal with the federal government as little as possible,
and that's common among most homesteaders. They mostly just want to be left alone.
They'll leave it to 1 or 2 or 3 people that handle that.
That actually want to be able to.
The mayor, whoever is elected as such, handles the trust business. He pays the taxes on behalf of the trust.
Right.
Everyone else goes about their lives ignoring the country around them.
Well, and my plan was to have any surplus produced be purchased from the people who produced it
by the
trust.
Yeah.
And then distributed. So everybody's still nobody's
being
robbed.
Yeah, and this isn't a
communism where everybody lines up in bread lines.
Right, it's not a bread line we're talking about. We're talking about either creating something where, and also, I mean, you remember gardens when we were growing up. You always have
more zucchini
much more than you could ever possibly eat.
The zucchini is the only thing you get, so you try to make bread out of it, and you still somehow have more. It's like the stuff breeds.
And a good idea would be to have a group of people who would, for instance, vegetables, a group of people who would can all of these surplus produce. And store it in a larder for emergencies.
Right.
Who could mill flour.
And they just rotate it out.
Yeah. That was another building that I was wanting to discuss. And also the reason I want running water on the property. A river would be the best idea if you could get it. Would be a mill because the aesthetic would just be pretty cool.
I personally would refuse to build anywhere there wasn't a river.
Yeah.
The issue you're going to run into there is building permits.
You can buy the water rights for any body of water that crosses your property.
Right, look into it, and that's one of the things you would have to look at as you were buying it. Is does anyone else own the water rights? And not only that, you'd have to buy the water rights every so often.
But it's in the span of years.
Yeah,
but that's the advantage of having a trust.
Right.
Because
it gets to
100, 200 people all together can do it much easier than 1 or 2 people.
Right. All right, so we need a centralized silo, a centralized cannery / mill, as it were.
A butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker.
Right, so with the tradesmen, is this a case of one building per trade, or?
I would like it to be. I mean, it maybe not necessarily if it couldn't have to, but I think it'd be neat to have a little town square.
Yeah. I would organize it into guilds.
Yeah.
All the people who do food processing and food growing.
They're on one street.
They're the farmers guild.
Right.
The people who make
you and I are both blacksmiths.
Right.
Why each of us have our own blacksmith shop when we could create one smithy where all the smiths come
just
to
have
work?
2 separate animals.
Also, that stops the problem of I made nails. Oh, I made nails too. Oops.
Yeah.
But smiths, leather workers, carpenters, craftsmen's guild.
Yeah. All right.
Farmer, people who do physical labor. Laborers Guild.
Yeah, like builders and people that lay...
the people who do our construction, the people who handle, our solar panels, things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so
now, of course, ideally, people are going to be doing multiple things.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You're going to be wearing a lot of hats, especially in the beginning when you're getting everything set up. But when everything settles down,
The more
the butcher
people we have,
should be able to wake up and go be a butcher for a few days of the week. And then really and truly, you're done. I mean, what other kind of...
What I would do is I would have everybody be one thing, but keep track of what everybody can do.
Yeah.
That way, if somebody, say, one of the smiths is sick, hey, one of the guys in the Farmers Guild has that skill, we can move him.
Yeah.
Well, generally, craftsmen in general tend to be...
They tend to...
Yeah,
most
there's quite a-
multi-class.
Most
there's a bit of
blacksmiths are
handover.
also woodworkers and leather workers.
Right. There's quite a bit of handover there.
So you would have a leather worker that tinkers in the blacksmith shop and a blacksmith that tinkers in the woodworking shop.
Run this by you. Would it also be an option to essentially keep the blacksmith shop open? So if you have someone that maybe they don't want to be a full-time blacksmith, but they've done their farm work for the day, and hey, I want to go tinker around in the smithy.
Was my point.
Yeah.
That was my point with the...
Yeah.
And also with the blacksmithing guild, you could also have welders in there as well, because we do still live in the modern world.
Right.
And my thought process, too, with the kids, as children become a thing, I think it'd be neat to start a schoolhouse.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Have a school, so we need a couple of teachers.
I actually just worked with a guy who, one of his kids is autistic, so he opened up his own, homeschool in order to, pull his kid out of, public school. It is remarkably easy. You can homeschool with a GED.
Yeah, I know.
No qualifications necessary.
Actually, realistically, we could mass homeschool.
And that's...
on that, there is a few laws out there on that. Now, look this up because it might differ from state to state. But I think if you are homeschooling your kids, you're legally not allowed to also school other people's kids. So it's kind of they do crack down.
It's
on
weird.
That.
It's what you do when you homeschool. At least according to the process as this gentleman walked me through it, is you open up a private school.
Yeah,
you are a private school
essentially. Which, as far as I know, I don't think you have to have a degree to open a private school.
No,
I think
you don't even really have to have.
But
a degree
do you
to be a
have?
teacher.
Here's the thing, though. How many people? I know at least 3. How many people do we know that have teaching degrees they've never used? They have their bachelors, they have their masters in teaching.
Yeah,
but teachers don't really make a whole bunch in this state, so they don't use it because they move on to other stuff.
Make like 40% less than everybody else.
Well, and in addition, this gentleman opened up a homeschool. He registered as one of the teachers for his quote-unquote private school. His ex-wife, who's actually not the mother and has no legal connection to the child he's homeschooling. So apparently you can homeschool other people's kids as long as you're all registered under the same homeschool.
So as long as you're now on that, would that not be essentially starting up a secondary business? Because you're dealing with education, so you're going to be dealing with the federal government.
File it as a nonprofit.
Just file it. All right.
But, and also, again, this is stuff that you can look at when it becomes,
right, when it becomes cross-separation when you come to
generally speaking, you need children before you start making the school.
Right, I mean, that's...
So, and another idea is, we're going to have a lot of religious people. Probably 2 or 3 different religious backgrounds in this thing.
Yeah.
Have the parents, have each religious body go, hey, we're going to build a school.
Just do their own...
Yeah, and have, all the heathens collectively homeschool their kids. All the Christians collectively homeschool their kids. They have a little soccer league or something.
Yeah.
And also, but
the yearly heathen Christian soccer games.
Well, also with that, it would be...
Does it involve phalanxes and spears? Because I really hope it does.
All right, it's time to go sack the monastery. No, they gotta be football teams. The heathen kids have to go sack the monastery. Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
No, what I think would be, but what I was thinking and what I was getting at was, you have these kids that they're going to school. They're learning the read and write and arithmetic, all that good jazz.
Yeah.
But then after, there's a class where they go through and they have to pick one of the trades. Blacksmithing, woodworking, leatherworking.
Yeah, what are you interested in?
What are you interested in?
Yeah.
Well, I would say probably 8th grade we would run them through like maybe 2 weeks each trade at a time,
Right.
and then once they get up into high school,
They
pick
can
the
choose.
one you liked the most.
I know
Yeah.
in 8th grade in public education, that's actually when they do. It's not
Oh, they don't anymore.
they don't do that anymore. But they actually have a career curriculum that they put me through in 8th grade.
Yeah, shop and a lot of other things kind of died.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it really wasn't shop class. It was just here's what your different career paths are, and here's what's involved in them. It was kind of an overview.
And it wasn't even necessarily a career thing. It's just
What job are you interested in? Like,
not. So my thought process with that is, let's say, because I'm also very okay with the idea of like inserting like modern stuff with it. So blacksmithing also needs to be welding.
Well,
Woodworking also needs to be, maybe
on
towards
that-
a construction.
On that, this is a bit of a side note. Welders during the 1940s were also blacksmiths. The reason they called themselves welders instead of blacksmiths was to keep up with the times. That was the new thing that had come out. So they had all the skill that the blacksmiths from yon ago had, but they also added welding onto that.
But my thought process with that is, with these kids, have them say like, look, you don't have to do this when you grow up. Like,
Yeah,
this
you
is not
can-
something you absolutely must do, but
Yeah, you can leave if you want.
But however, you must have the skill.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to feed yourself at some point. And if give them something to fall back on. It's a fallback. Like, you might get out of here and say, I want to be a computer programmer. That's awesome. Do that.
Yeah.
But if the computer programming, for whatever reason, you can't get a job in that
or
field,
Armageddon happens.
you have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Like, well, I can't find a job, so let me start welding until I can find the
something
job I
comes
want.
And on the subject of education, we need to make sure, be absolutely positive that the educational system within this community is better than the educational system of the state as a whole.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Most homeschooling is. I mean, and if you've had now run this on you,
We
could
can
you?
go on the Amish curriculum.
Yeah, the Mennonite curriculum is what we started out on. And, it was hard, but I'll be doggone it. By the time they're in 10th grade, they're farther along than most high schoolers are. So
True.
Um,
Well, because the Mennonite curriculum was made to graduate you by 8th grade.
yeah,
So that you could get to work on the farm.
Correct.
Not waste your whole youth on school.
yeah.
Correct.
That and so it's a case. Run this by you. So reviewing textbooks or something.
Okay.
Would it be a case where you would have the Teachers Guild would come together, read the textbooks, say, yes, we like this textbook. It is up to date. It is full of the current research. That would be essentially their full-time job, during the summer, as it were,
Yeah.
And then during the winter, they teach the youngins what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's necessary to have a teacher's guild,
Mhm.
because we could honestly probably get away with one teacher. A lot of small towns do.
A lot of it depends on the number of people, like if somehow we just end up being blessed with 5 teachers that just happen to be there,
Yeah.
why
Okay.
not?
Okay, well, let's say
and
we
the
have...
great thing is that the way we're doing it off a homeschooling curriculum, you functionally don't even need more than one teacher.
No, I know.
Have one teacher to oversee the process, and then say the village women who aren't doing anything else, or men, whatever.
Yeah.
Have them basically be the other teachers.
Yeah.
So
Have a
you
principal who is actually an educator.
Well, we have to keep side of the patriarchy here. Make sure the men are paid more for the same job. Is a joke.
See, it's funny because we don't plan on paying women at all.
We don't plan on paying anyone at all. Part of the point of this is to get worthless currency out of our lives.
A school,
Yeah,
a butcher, a school, a butcher shop,
candlestick maker.
butcher, baker, candlestick maker. I'm
different-
actually
your
kind of
different
serious.
trades.
I'm actually serious about that. It would be kind of cool to have a candlestick
Yeah.
maker.
Have your different trades.
We need a library.
We do need a library. I am very much in.
Have that in conjunction with your school. So have a library actually in the schoolhouse.
Or you could have...
off to the side, still part of the same building.
Okay, so this is my inner bookworm coming out.
Okay.
I am 100% on board with a completely separate library. I
Yeah.
want it in.
I
I want rows and rows of books. I want it to be one of the most beautiful buildings in the town, and I want there to be computers in it. For the simple fact that maybe you've decided you don't like computers, and that is 100% fine.
Yeah.
But the real world still
Yeah.
exists out there.
Yeah.
We're not the villaging this.
Well, who knows? You
you
might
know?
want to browse 4chan from time to time.
Yeah. So you need to have somewhere where, like, if you
We'll
as the
definitely
individual
have
decided I don't like computers or TVs or modern,
You got,
that's fine.
You got Bob, who comes from the Amish community.
Right,
Who
and
doesn't-
that's fine. But your kids still need to know how the internet works, what's going on. Like, again, I'm not talking about complete and total isolation. I'm talking about sustainability.
Insulation as opposed to isolation.
Correct. Insulation.
Well, really survivability.
Exactly.
If the rest of society burns, we need to be able to keep going.
Yeah.
I want my children to be able to pick out trees and plants the way that most people can pick out the difference between Nike and McDonald's.
Yeah.
What's a cheeseburger? The other's a piece of shit.
No, I'm talking about the.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here.
The logos.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. They're both pieces of crap. So I mean,
Yeah.
Actually, though, it might not be a bad idea to simply have the homeschooling take place in the library, because most homeschool curriculums are online anyway. Just have the library be the schoolhouse library computer lab.
I'm going to put this in here. I'd rather go with books, and here's why. When you're talking about, textbooks can be used, 5, 6, 7, 10 years without having to necessarily be updated. Maybe you just go through them every so often and, this has changed, and you scribble that down.
With online curriculums, you're having to buy basically a new subscription every year.
Right.
However, though, it's honestly not that bad. It's $40 per kid per month.
Yeah,
Also,
but if you've got 100 kids...
It also depends on...
When are we going to have 100 kids?
Well, we're talking about having maybe
Anytime
300
you
tenants.
want, big boy.
Well, I mean...
Ew.
So, also this stuff is going to be... Well, quite frankly, this is the Teachers Guild's problem, not ours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what they decide to do is going to depend greatly on the amount of money that this village is bringing in,
Right.
and the amount of money we can afford to spend on, because that's how tiny little countries work.
Yeah.
We're going to have the exact same problems every other country has. We're just having them on a much smaller scale.
Yeah. We're the High Lords of Bergville. It's the librarians. Don't worry about the library.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have our library set up. Now we're going to need some kind of central government building, be it a town hall, a mayor's office, or something like that.
I was thinking about doing it the way it used to be done in the Middle Ages.
What's that?
You have the mayor's manor, is the mayor's house.
Yeah.
And right through the front doors is a big room with a big chair, and people come in and tell the mayor their problems.
And then have have tables that you can bring in when you need meetings, like guildmaster meetings.
Just a conference table off to the side or something. Yeah. All right.
That way, the people in charge are forced to actually see the people they rule over.
Yeah, instead of having an office, have them hold court.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because in an office...
you're looking at a piece of paper with a complaint on it, and there's no person there.
Yeah.
When you hold court, and you're sitting in your chair, and Bob the farmer's like, hey, we had a terrible crop this year because of the frost, you can see Bob. Bob has a problem.
Yeah.
You know Bob. Bob wouldn't be bringing this up if it wasn't major.
I will allow this on one condition. We have to bring back medieval manners when it comes to court. That has to be a thing we have to do.
You have to kneel before the
Have to
mayor.
kneel before, have to bow to the ladies.
Get out of here.
No,
I think a certain amount of decorum.
No, I like the idea
etiquette.
I like the idea of etiquette and decorum. I dislike the bowing and scraping bit. But
we can modify them. So
The full title of the mayor will be Sir Mayor.
Sir Lord Mayor of
Sir Mayor of insert town name here.
right.
Knight Errant.
Well, and I think building a and it's actually funny. I think to a certain degree, building a kind of merit based aristocracy might actually be a good idea.
Well, not only
If you are an outstanding member of the town guard and you've served the town faithfully for 4+ years, whatever, you deserve a certain amount of recognition for that.
And there's...
If you're the best educator in the town, or...
And I like that, and that's another big one, and that was something I was about to segue into.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the idea of pomp and ceremony. Pomp and ceremony is important. People like being recognized. People like being recognized for their achievements. So when you have something like that, a room with the big chairs and whatnot, and the guy wearing the big fancy hat, it gives you a position to bestow favors upon people. Yeah. Like you can say, "Wow, you did a great job. You were the best farmer this year. You made you outperformed everybody with crops. That's awesome. Keep up that good work. Here's your ribbon."
Here's an honorary title.
Yeah, or a ribbon, or what have you.
Gold star, splat.
And not even all
Just
of...
make sure it has less than 6 points.
And, not even all of our honors and decorations have to be super serious. There's some pretty goofy traditions out there.
Yeah.
Like for over 100 years, the army has been drinking mixed alcohol out of toilets.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the army.
Yeah. But yeah,
To be fair, the Air Force does it too.
and it would be fun to be able to, and it would also feasts and festivals and stuff where you bring everybody together in this feasting hall.
Yeah.
And this is where everybody enjoys themselves, and this is where,
And the people who have really been exemplary that year can kind of show off a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That way, the people, I don't want to say the little people because that sounds kind of disparaging, and you really do need those people to keep things functioning.
Mm-hmm.
But they get to look at the people who've been, honored and received the accolades and go, "I have something to work towards."
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
I want that. So
that's
let's go
the
do
point,
that.
and the point there is, oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's a neat thing,
I'd make it come with a cash prize or something.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea either. Like, there's all sorts of things you
A
can do.
goat.
Incentivize excellence.
Yeah. And then have stuff for the kids.
Yeah.
Who was the best in...
Who got the best grades?
Who was the best scholastically? Who was the best in whatever sports or
And how
outside
different.
whatever outside, thing we have.
Yeah.
And I'm also a big...
Who won the heathen Catholic football game?
And that's actually something else I would like to bring up. I think the way this thing is set up, there should be very few people who are genuinely equals in this system.
What do you mean?
For instance, I think we should make firm distinctions between who is excelling, who is not.
Yeah.
But I think certain groups of people within the town should never be able to oversay each other. Like, I think all religious authorities should all carry the same weight.
Yeah.
I think all religious authorities within the town should be of equal rank to the mayor. Like,
Okay.
have the same social standing.
Well, this goes back to the chieftain and Gothi thing I was
Yeah,
talking about last week.
Yeah.
They are. Like, that is inherent.
And that way...
Because they have to work together.
And the priest's vote should be weighed a little bit more heavily than the farmer's.
Yeah.
Or the farm hands. The farm owner is, part of the guild, so he gets part of the guild vote.
Right, but also I don't think that's going to be as big of an issue as you're because you guys are talking
I would
about...
actually remove, like, the religious... I would say, the mayor, the religious authorities, I would actually remove them from the voting process.
Mhm.
I would actually make the religious authorities basically advisor equals to the mayor, functionally.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a terrible idea. And a lot of this stuff, man, is not going to have to be...
Yeah, and we can...
And
this is also something we talked about.
It'll
next
happen
week.
organically.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of this stuff, like, a lot of this stuff is being overthought, I'm pretty sure. But a lot of this stuff will just happen.
Yeah, well, I have a tendency to overthink.
Well, in a case of 100... in a case of 1,000 people, this is something we'd have to consider.
Yeah.
In a case of 100 people, Bob's being an asshole. Literally go away.
Yeah.
Go away, Bob. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Drowning in a bog.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm getting at. Like, when you're talking about groups of 150 people, 200, it's not going to be that big of an issue. Most people are going to just do their own thing, and except for festivals, when they're coming together to enjoy the time, it's not going to be a huge deal.
Yeah. As for logistics, a treasurer. For getting back to the things we really need, we're going to need a treasurer.
Treasurer/secretary. I think those rules can be carried for both.
Somebody who keeps meticulous track of all the monetary assets we have, every scrap of food.
And meeting minutes.
These are the people who will be responsible for making sure that everything is in its place and we have what we say we have.
Yeah.
Right. So, because at some point, if it gets successful enough where we start making really good money off of it...
or like say
we're going to be audited. That will happen.
Yeah.
Or like say a big store, like wants to say order 5,000 pots because they really like our ceramics.
Yeah,
we need to be able to verify that we have those 5,000 pots on hand.
Yeah. Not only that, I think also when you're talking about
well, shoot,
you're also going to have things like Joe had mentioned actually being audited. You're also going to have taxation that comes in, when they send the tax evaluators over. The more buildings you have, the higher the taxes. The nicer the place looks, higher the taxes, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something else that's going to have to be taken account of. And, okay, we have this much in taxes, so we need to make this much in money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's going to be the leader's job to figure out where that money's going to come from. And if the
mayor and the treasurer will sit down together and go, "Hey, this is what we've got. This is how we can get."
And if you're not in the red, we got to figure something out fast.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Tourism. No, not tourism. Any tourist.
Well, whatever it happens to be, I don't see that being a problem. I think being in the red won't be an issue.
No, I don't think so either. Because let's be honest here, if you set up in the correct area, you're gonna have hippies coming all over the place to buy your produce.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's funny that you mentioned tourism because actually I think we already talked about having like one of the first things you see as you enter the town is like a cobblestone plaza lined with stalls.
And just let people in.
Yeah. And our religious institutions just passed that, and that's as far in as foreigners ever get.
Yeah, they never.
They don't walk past the church.
Yeah, because you don't need to see what my house looks like.
Yeah.
All right, on that, kind of moving this train forward a little bit. Housing. Mm-hmm. How far should we go? Aesthetic. Well, not only that, but like how far should we go? Should we impose limitations on what a house should be like? Should there be a building code? Does it need to match,
As for building code, that's determined by your state. We actually don't have much power over it.
Right, but I'm talking about what we can,
internally. Like, does everything need to be in German architecture or Gothic or Norwegian? Yeah.
Should we limit how big your house should be?
Right.
That kind of thing. Or should we just kind of let you do whatever?
You don't have basic floor plans you could pick from?
I'm toying with this. I was toying with this idea. And the idea I toyed around with was, if you're pretty much... And this is kind of what you'd be doing. If you're pretty much giving people property, giving people land...
Yeah, you have the say in what the houses are like.
I really don't think it's terribly off to build the houses beforehand.
Yeah.
And then say, hey, we have 100 open houses. You have a family. Your family, you have 2 children. We have a 3-bedroom right over here, or a 4-bedroom, what have you.
You realize this is like the game Animal Crossing in real life.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that game?
Yeah, oh yeah.
You just walk in like, oh, here's 4 houses to choose from.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking. You have that in there. Say, hey, this is what we have. If you don't like that, sorry.
Yeah.
Now if somebody's like, well, I want to build my own house, I'm like, well, here's the problem.
Yeah,
do you have the codes? Do you have the codes? Do you are you up to code? Are you up to da 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 da?
Yeah.
And if they are, like, okay, if that's really what you want, but I don't think most people are, especially when there are houses already there.
Yeah,
that
why
set.
put the effort in when something's right there?
Right.
I do also kind of want at least compatible aesthetics.
Yeah, of course.
Like, if we're 17th century German and you want to come in and build 17th century French, awesome. Yeah. If you want to come in and build Frank Lloyd Wright meets Soviet brutalism, go somewhere else with that.
Yeah. I think we should pick a span of time for acceptable architectural styles.
Right.
And have it be generally somewhere, at least outwardly. I don't care what your house looks like on the inside.
Oh, of course.
Essentially, we're having an HOA, as it were.
Yeah.
Saying, this is what the limitations are. You don't like it, go find another community.
We're not having a homeowners association. We're the homeowners. Well, we're on the trust.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, and it wouldn't necessarily be an association as much as it would be, because an HOA would be like a continuance of a thing, whereas for this it would just be the initial
building codes.
This is what we have.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
All right. So
do what you want with it, but keep it clean.
All right. So on that, will we need a sawmill?
Yes.
Oh,
definitely.
So that's definitely going to be.
So we're going to need a mill.
We need sawmills. We need bricklayers. We need masons.
Yep, and for that matter, we need people that plant trees.
Yes,
because if we're going to be in,
we will plant 1 tree for every tree we cut down.
Okay, I'm down with 2 trees for every tree we cut down. Because
we also need farmland.
Yeah,
come on.
At the very least 1.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm also talking about hopefully we'd be doing this in a heavily forested area. Yeah. I'm not talking about the initial setup. I'm talking about the sustainability afterwards. Yeah. The initial setup, we're going to have to raise some land. That's just how it works.
Clear cut some.
Well, what I would do
is, but
initial clear cutting, for every tree you cut down to build, plant one in an orchard.
Yeah.
Make those trees useful.
Yeah.
For every tree we cut down afterwards, plant 1 or 2.
Now,
build into the orchard.
Does anybody know, is there any fruit trees that make good lumber?
That I did not.
Not really.
1 fruit tree and like a spruce or something.
Yeah. The thing with fruit trees is they've been modified to be easy to pick from.
That's what I thought.
So
There's an alternative, though, to like timbers, and I know Chatus actually hates this style, but I happen to like it. There's a technique called cordwood masonry, where you take maybe like 3-inch diameter branches at about 6 inches, and you stack them and mortar in between just like bricks to build up your wall. Yeah. You still need timbers for the frame,
right?
But that cuts down on the amount of wood you need by a lot, and even apple trees can be used for it.
Well, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Well, so, you could also stucco that if you wanted to.
Well, that's
whitewash over it.
I just hate the way it looks.
Yeah.
I would basically grind it flat on the outside and then stucco over it.
Yeah.
Once it's covered over and I can't tell it's a bunch of cardboard, I don't care.
It actually makes
there's also
great insulation.
There's also the idea of ferroconcrete. And
yep, I've heard of that.
The way ferroconcrete works for I know Jackrabbit's heard of it. Basically what you do is you take chicken wire. It's 2 layers of chicken wire and you form it into a shape, and that chicken wire forms a mesh, and you just plaster concrete onto it, and you can do it in basically any shape.
Yeah.
And you can make a wall out of it, and it just creates dead airspace.
Yeah, you can make a hollow wall. Really what it is it's the modern equivalent of wattle and daub mud huts.
Yeah.
Except you can do, like, Gothic architecture in it if you want.
You can build any style you want with it. And because it's a hollow wall, before you finish the wall, if you really want, you can pump it full of that expanding foam insulation.
Yeah.
And then you have a very strong, very well-insulated wall.
Yeah.
And I would do that for, like, big buildings, like the religious buildings, the mayor's manor, like, important buildings within the town. Because we're going to have to buy a bunch of concrete and chicken wire anyway for things like cisterns. We're going to need cisterns to store water. We're going to need, and I'd say at least a small one for every house.
Right.
Because everyone's going to need water and a say 1,000-gallon collective one for the town.
Right. On water, rain catchment, drill a well, or harvest it from the river and purify it somehow.
All three.
All three.
You never, ever, ever, ever restrict yourself to one water source.
Yep. Right.
Because at any point you could lose that and you will all die.
Right. On that,
I like well and collect from a river. The thing with collecting rainwater is you need a permit and it expires every year.
Really? I didn't know.
You also need biofilters for it.
Okay.
Or some kind of filtration system.
Yeah.
Because water that runs off roofs is full of bird shit and pollen and all kinds of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
You don't really want to drink it without filtering it.
Yeah.
That said, you can build biofilters, which basically
dirt and charcoal. And,
a biofilter is dirt, charcoal, and a bacterial culture.
Right.
That kills and eats.
That grows in your gravel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So that one is fairly easy, especially if there's a river there.
Yeah.
Also, for electricity, I like the idea of hydroelectricity. If we could run it like a water mill,
it's not efficient on a small scale.
You need
That's why I would do it on a large scale.
Yeah, that's
no. I mean, you need have you ever like the big hydroelectric dams? That's about what you need to do to make it profitable.
Yeah. I would say actually have more than one system. Try to figure out where you're going first. You know, where the building code's the best. What kind of resources do they have?
Yeah.
I would go with probably have every house with its own solar system and a wind system for a backup.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Then if you want to do a water system to supplement that,
well, the reason I thought of hydroelectricity versus something like solar, although I like solar and I like wind, I'm trying to figure out a way to get around the need for batteries. Because batteries are expensive.
Yeah, you're not, when you're dealing with alternative energy, you're not going to get away from batteries.
You need batteries. Yeah. It's unfortunate.
That having been said, our water wheels are going to be a good way to charge said batteries as an additional source of electricity. Yeah. Because I at least plan on using water wheels to power machinery directly anyway. Yeah. Why not hook an alternator up to it while I'm at it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. So who here's familiar with the idea of the rocket stove and the rocket mass heater?
I am.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
There's a cool machine you can build called a Stirling engine.
Mm-hmm. I know what a Stirling engine is. Yeah.
And it cranks off a heat differential.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put that on a wood stove or or the mass on your mass heater. and use that to crank a generator and generate electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put a wood stove or a mass heater in every home, you can build a Stirling engine for every home.
The Stirling engine is super slow, though.
Yeah, but it's also it'll just use it to charge batteries just passively.
Another option on that, while we're getting into different kind of engines, is actually, and maybe this would be more for say we had a gas tractor or something, actually a wood gasifier engine, where what that is it actually...
I've heard of wood gas before.
Yeah, well, wood gasifier engines, what it is you hook up you have a central combustion tank, and then you hook up your exhaust into the engine intake, where essentially the fuel would normally go in. And it's flammable enough where you can actually run a gasoline engine off it. You can also run a diesel engine off it, but it needs to be primed in order to start it.
Yeah.
It'd take a lot of wood to do that.
Yeah.
But it is an option if you don't want to use gasoline.
Methane digesters.
If I'm not mistaken, in World War II, the U.S. military actually put out a guide to American farmers telling them how to start applying wood gas because, the military needed all the fossil fuel.
Right now, FEMA has a guide on their website where you can look up how to turn your generator into a wood gasifier engine generator.
Huh.
So that's actually something they have set up if you're interested.
Okay, then.
Neat.
But as far as like electricity, whatever sources we can get a hold of.
Right.
Yeah.
Solar is good because it can just passively charge batteries.
Yeah, solar's going to be your best because, number one, you can stick it on your roof, or you can stick it on this hillside that we can't use for crops.
Also, there's some interesting advancements. It looks like solar is going to be the way that it goes in the future.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with some neat stuff. Elon Musk, actually, I think it was Elon, came up with a solar shingle for the roof.
Yeah.
So you buy packs of solar shingles.
There you go.
There you go, yeah.
Well, and another thing, like, it'd be a good idea, for instance, to build, say, watchtowers. So we can see who comes in, who comes out. Just general security stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, like a police force? Or
like a town guard.
Yeah. I'm thinking more of a town guard. I'm not interested as much in a policing force. I'm not interested in you're going too fast. I'm interested in...
Well, I'm not talking
Timmy
about
fell
that.
into the well.
Yeah. So, essentially, it'd be more like a guard/EMS rescue fire crew, as it were.
Yeah.
So, what I'm thinking, you build the towers, you clear cut the space around them, and you make them tall enough to get sunlight. You put solar panels on each side, and you can run wires back, because they just be right on the borders of the town.
Right.
And you can run wires back to the town proper to charge batteries.
Right.
And just keep a stock of batteries charged.
On that, the more wiring you have, the less you lose. As far as, like, if you got a 10-foot section of wire as opposed to a 100 section foot of wire, you're going to get more charge out of that 10 section foot.
Yeah.
Or a 10-foot section. Than
electricity leaks out of the lines.
Yeah.
And you can mitigate some of that by building step-up transformers.
Yeah.
To pass that current.
Yeah. My biggest thing is not biting off more than we can chew.
Yeah.
Right.
My thought process right now is, we just acquired 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. Well, to start with, when you're just starting out, I would actually forego electricity. And here's why. You don't need it. It's not necessary. You can go to bed by candlelight or something. You know, it's a luxury. It's nice to have, but it's not necessarily for the first 2 or 3 families start coming in. You don't necessarily need it, and it can be done over time.
Right.
So, all right. So, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like going back, instead of having this is going back to what Chadis was talking about, having solar panels along like the town walls. I think it would be better to have each and every house have its own separate little solar bank.
Agreed.
So that you're not, number one, you're not having to go as far to get it to the battery bank.
Yeah.
Each house maintains its own. So, Bob over here neglected his solar panel and now he has no electricity. Well, too bad,
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that, if we've got something akin to a little general store, why not have emergency batteries?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing we would need, a little general store.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not your fault when your batteries don't charge.
Right.
Something just
went wrong.
Yeah.
Electrical systems are super finicky.
You can tell. I think you can tell when it's neglect versus something went wrong.
Well, I also, electricity can be figured out.
Down the line.
It's not super difficult to figure out.
No,
It's more of a here's our options, pick one kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So let's move away. We got about 10 minutes left. Let's
Okay.
move away from that onto other things. I think it'd be kind of cool to have a tavern or a bar of some form, like with an inn attached to it.
Well,
I think that'd be fun. I think it'd be neat.
But there would have to be kind of strict rules regulating its operation.
Well,
you don't
that's
want
how that goes.
People slobbering drunk falling out of the...
No, I don't care about that. This is a free country. You slobbering drunk your way out if you'd like, as long as you don't beat your wife when you get home, finally.
Okay.
I don't care. What I'm more concerned about is the liquor license and that kind of thing that you need to have to sell.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not advocating circumventing any federal law. However, every person is allowed by law to make a certain amount of brewed alcohol, like wine, beer, mead.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not distilled liquor, you need a license for.
Mm.
But beer, wine, mead, everybody can make a certain amount.
It's like 50 gallons or something.
Yeah. And you're not allowed to sell that, but you are allowed to gift it.
Oh, okay.
Well, if it gets gifted to the trust can turn around and give it to whoever they want.
That's true. So then you could have a tavern where you pay for a room, and then you get, if you pay for the room, you get, drinks for however many drinks, or there are workarounds. Buy a meal and get a free drink with your meal.
I would just
track
track everybody's productivity, and you get a little punch card or whatnot, and be like, hey, you did really well this month. Your punch card has collected X amount of punches.
Like alcohol credits.
Yeah. You're basically being paid, and it'd basically be a bonus to your work.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I actually would have the individual do, because the trust is legally seen as an individual, so the trust could only make one person's worth of alcohol.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If everyone makes their person's worth of alcohol and then gifts it to the trust, I'm not advocating circumventing federal law. I'm advocating making your own personal alcohol for your own personal use or gifts to friends.
Well, not only that, you could also have if you really wanted to and got into it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal to get a liquor license. It's not that difficult.
Well, and beer and
a beer and wine license is just
it's even cheaper.
You just get it, and then now you can always make sure your people drinking there are over 21 and you're fine.
Yeah.
It's not a huge deal. You just literally open it up as a business and get a license. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And you get a brewer that,
knows what he's doing.
And we have 2 local colleges in here that have a course in brewing. That is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to note that alcohol consumption during religious events does not actually fall under federal law.
Right.
So
because it's a religious...
if you're 13, you can drink beer or wine if it's part of your religion.
Right. Well, just like...
If you happen to be a Norse heathen and your religion involves getting sloppy drunk...
It doesn't. That's not a thing.
I think he was just
the government doesn't know that.
Yeah. Well, in like Catholicism, you have the sacrament of wine, right?
We have wine as part of Holy Communion. Yeah.
For heathenry, you have mead. Mead is the way that you hold almost all of your events, and usually it's a horn of mead. And
yeah, you drink a lot more mead than we drink wine, though.
True,
it's like
because it's one of the
us.
Yeah, it's a well, it's not a it's actually not. It's actually frowned upon to get drunk at these events. Usually, it's a horn. You pour a horn out, and then you drink a horn.
Yeah,
and if it's a group of people, sometimes it's even like sprinkling the meat on people. So it's not like actually drinking. It depends on the group of people.
Huh.
So
meat for you, and meat for you, and meat for you.
Pretty much.
The power of Thor compels you.
So yeah, but yeah. So these are all things that would be neat, I think, to have. When you first step into the we'll call it the square, the common area, what have you. I think it'd be neat to have shops, like guilds and stuff. And you're going to have specialized stuff pop up, too, that I think is neat. Like, I think you'll probably see a Linmer's Guild pop up eventually, which, if you're not aware of what that is the art of calligraphy and writing.
Like book illumination and things like that.
I think that would be really cool to see. You would have things like weavers, tailors, cobblers, haberdashers. I think that'd be neat to be able to see all that stuff.
Something else I think we should do. Any clergymen, like the Gothi, the priests, they should be paid by the town. They shouldn't have to only do that job.
Yeah, like the religious leaders will be like the only unitaskers in the town. Everyone else, you need to have a backup skill.
They're the kind of people, they have to carry the moral and spiritual weight of the town in a way that other people don't.
Right. That's also a full-time job. You know, showing up on people like, hey, is everything okay? Oh, hey, your family died. Or
like
something.
A priest does priestly stuff all the time.
Births, deaths, counseling.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah, of course.
There. Yeah.
And there's always stuff like that happening, and it's an interesting thing, especially when you start looking into the Gothi members or the priests and stuff. What happens if you have a funeral? What happens if one of your members dies, and you have to go to a funeral outside of that town?
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that? That's
we need
stuff.
A cemetery.
Yeah.
We need a cemetery.
Yeah. Which
I think it'd be cool to actually be able to convince clergy from different religious groups to actually voluntarily live in the town.
Well, ideally, that's what you would have. That's what I'm talking about. But I think that would be neat.
Well, that would essentially be case in point. I know Catholic denominations do it. I know there's a few Protestant denominations that do it, but they actually have like the church, and then off to the side
there'll
have
be
a
parish.
The parish, right?
Yeah, the parish. Well, the I forget what it's actually called. We don't call it that. The parish is the area around the church, so it's like the whole town.
Yeah. But they have a house for the minister.
Yeah, I forget what it's called now, but it doesn't happen so much anymore, and
it's not very common.
Yeah, our town doesn't do it because we actually have a friary because all of our priests are Franciscan friars.
Really?
Yeah, they walk around in their brown robes and everything.
Huh. All right,
that's kind of cool.
They actually own their building. They had their mortgage burning last year.
Or moreover, the church does, because Franciscan friars aren't.
They're not actually allowed things. The laws of their order don't allow them to own things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you would have your religious leaders living in the town, essentially. But yeah.
Well, I hope nobody in the town likes the Novus Ordo Mass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a good traditionalist priest.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty neat.
Wait, what are we going to do about the atheist? do they need an atheist scholar?
Stake them and burn them.
Wah wah.
Yeah, I think for the spiritual health of the town, you have to subscribe to some religion. I'm not going to tell you which, but you have to have some kind of spiritual grounding.
Mm. But I think it would be neat to have weavers, and I think like the more specialized you get, I think the more people that get interested in this stuff, they're going to open really cool little areas, and I think that's what's going to be neat. It's going to be really neat to watch.
You're going to have the nerd guild.
No.
Where they make video games.
No. But having things like like I'm repeating myself, but like the Limber's Guild, or people that like to make paper, like that's a thing that would be neat, and that would also draw in a lot of
a lot of tourism, a lot of
something that really I think we should discuss is the town guard itself, because we very briefly touched on it.
Yeah, I would say just have a centralized building that has your fire truck and your ambulance in there. I don't know. There might be some laws regarding.
There are definitely laws regarding that.
That's regarding the ambulance truck,
and we'll figure that out, and the fire department. We can figure that out as it becomes.
But as for I'm talking more like physical security.
Yeah,
maintaining
with the town guard. I'd say give them a sidearm and
a stick.
A sidearm and a stick.
I'd say every man between 18 and 50. Issue them because we're gonna do background checks. Yeah. There will be no felons in this.
No, there will not.
It will not happen.
Yeah.
Give them a firearm, an impact weapon, so like a baton or something.
Batons because they deploy like lightsabers.
I'm talking like a wooden billy club, not like a baton. Because we want to keep lethal force to a minimum.
Okay, all right.
Well, that, and also these people are going to be bringing in their own stuff too. Like most people that I know that are into this stuff own a gun of some form.
Yeah. The only thing would be the hippie preppers, the leftist preppers. Yes, that's a thing.
I would actually require every family to have a firearm. law.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
technically federal law anyway.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
right. It is.
Yeah, militia.
Oh man.
What was it, 1792?
Yeah, this is a real thing, by the way.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
That's but anyway, getting back to it, like so. Let's just talk about the town guard for a minute. Here.
Okay.
Okay. So what do we issue them a firearm? Have maybe start up a volunteer fire department or something, or to that effect.
Well,
and then,
as far as like the guards themselves, the people who actually patrol and make sure everything's not good,
yeah.
send them in pairs.
Yeah.
Got pistol. One guy has a pistol. One guy has a shotgun.
All
They
you-
both have a billy
All
club.
you'd really need are 20 or so people because you
Yeah.
have
Well,
two sets of 10,
Yeah.
and so you have 5 groups that are always patrolling.
And I would also make it. I would also have it be a mandatory term of service, at least 1 year for everyone.
Maybe not. It depends on the people. I'd have to cross that bridge when I got to. I want to see the type of people that are moving in because there are
Yeah.
some people I don't want doing that job.
Yeah. You
Well,
give them
and
the
there's-
badges
well,
like,
the
"Sup,
thing
bro?
is-
Yeah.
I have authority, bro."
The
Yeah.
thing is, though, is
We would
that
also be vetting people very strictly.
Yeah.
Right.
So we could be doing our level best to keep
Yeah, but I'm going to
those
say
people
this.
out.
There are
Well-
some people, they're nice as can be. You give them a badge and a gun, and the asshole comes out.
Well, that's why we would have to have some kind of training program. for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, and the thing is if I can't trust you to have my back in a pinch,
Yeah.
I don't want you as my neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can't trust you to have my back when it's necessary, why am I going to trust you at any other time?
Okay. Should we do-
That's a good point.
Should we do that, or should we maybe take a few guys? Okay, who's interested in being town guard? Send them through BLET or equivalent.
I
course.
would have vets do it. I would be like, okay, who's ex-military?
Okay. Once again,
Who has been police?
you're going to run into a legal issue there, though, because, okay, let's say you're looking at somebody that the government does not recognize as an authority. You give them a gun, you give them a billy club, you give them pepper spray. They go in and they try to stop a kerfuffle, and somebody gets hurt feelings and decides to go make a big deal about it. What then? Oh, you didn't have proper authority to enforce law. Why are you being a vigilante? So unless you have to give them, you have
here's
to
the
give them
thing.
some kind of a title, be it security guard, be it something.
Here's the thing. One, it'd be one of the bylaws of the trust. You live on our land, you submit to our authority.
You're always going to have that one guy.
Two.
It's not going to happen.
No, well, but if it's
Two.
if it's on the trust document, then it's legally binding.
Okay, all right.
And two, Good Samaritan laws. If I see somebody attacking somebody else, and I run in and hit them with a stick, they can't sue me. They were attacking someone.
Right.
And also, the person you're attempting to help can't sue you.
Yeah.
Thirdly, also the firearms. I don't think that wouldn't be for the people that live in the village.
Wouldn't be necessary.
That would be for protection from wild animals and people that try to come in.
Thieves
I'm not worried about theft within the village. I'm really not because
Yeah,
the type of
somebody
people that would be
breaking
doing
in.
this.
Well,
would
we'd
be-
all have basically the same stuff anyway.
Well, yeah, it would be people that coming in from the outside.
This stool is really nice.
Yeah. Well, it'd be people that come in from the other side. It's like, hey, you know that village over there, right? Those weirdos. Let's go take their stuff. You know, and that I find more likely.
More likely, yeah.
So
Well, and
the
especially
town
if-
guard would not really be for the townspeople. It would be from the outside.
Yeah,
forces.
Not only that, normally, I will bring this up, normally if you have a guy running at you with a flashlight and a stick, that's going to be enough of a...
Deterrent.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. The main purpose for the firearms is,
You can't stick a bear.
A proper... yeah.
say we set up in
Montana.
Washington State.
Montana.
Washington State.
Montana.
Will you shut up and let me analogy for a freaking second? Set up in Washington State because it's a Scandinavian environment and we're all Germanic here.
Okay.
Well, Donald Trump wins re-election and Seattle loses its freaking mind and starts rioting the way Portland did.
Yeah.
Well, what if some of those rioting groups drift out of Seattle? That's what we have guns for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're... Get behind the walls and...
Be like, go away! Go away! I shall taunt you a second time.
Go away! I shall elect Trump a third time.
Let's not.
Get the oil ready, boys. They're pounding the gates.
Yeah. So that would be what you're looking at for the town guard. The town guard would really not be
They're guarding the town.
they wouldn't be doing a lot.
More of a security force.
It's one of those things that they wouldn't be doing anything until they were.
Yeah.
And when they were doing a lot.
Security force / first responder.
Right. Also, like, have them do things like CPR, first aid, that kind of thing.
I would have all of them go through like a first responders course or something.
That would be useful.
Yeah.
You have the trust pay for that.
All right, so that was...
Yeah. Want to say one last thing before we wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a show on Netflix. I know Coffeepot doesn't use Netflix because...
It's satanic.
Yeah, religious reasons.
Political reasons.
But... Actually, no, I think it's on Hulu. There's a show called Port Protection. It's about basically exactly what we want to do here, except it's on an island in Alaska, so they do a lot more fishing. Watch that.
Okay. Port Protection, all
I
right.
guess we're going to Alaska.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about that, and I got a lot of stuff ironed out. That was a good talk. Next week, we're talking about the cultural possibilities for the village. What is the cultural aspect of it going to look like? And that'll be good, so tune in for us there. Like us on Facebook. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like and share with your friends and your enemies.
Is the website up yet? Or?
No, it is not. I can't get it fixed right now, so I'm actually going to use this as a golden opportunity. I've been planning on updating the domain anyway.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retrieve all of our content and migrate it to a new domain.
Okay.
And when that's ready, that will be rightchannel.net.
Oh, okay. Well, very well. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining us again this week. This has been RightCast Radio. I am your host. They call me the Jackrabbit. And with me as always is...
Chatus.
And...
Coffeepot.
And...
Cobra.
All right, guys. See you next week. Bye, local.
Bye, local.